Hi, I'm Sharon and welcome to my tutorial all about finding the best keywords so that your site can kick ass in Google. Now, to explain how to find the best keyword for your articles, I think the best way to go about that is to use an example of how I find my keywords. Okay, so I'm in Keysearch, which is the tool I love using for keyword research. Now, it does a whole lot of different things around this, but the screen which has everything that you need to use to be able to do your keyword planning is this one. So it's the first one you get to when you go in there. It's just keyword research. So you can see there's other options here, but it's just this first keyword research on the research tab, and you can do everything in here that I'm going to talk about. Now, I already ran this just to speed things up a bit, but what you're going to do is you're going to think about what your article's about, because in this tutorial, I'm assuming you know what you want to write about. And you're going to put in that sort of main topic into this space here. Now, for me, I just went to Phuket, so I need to write an article for my travel blog about things to do in Phuket with kids. So, I mean, I've done this a lot, so I already have an idea that that might be my main keyword. So I just chuck it in here and it will sort of bring me back all the sort of attraction in Phuket sort of keywords, as well as the ones that are about family travel. So you just simply type that in here and press search here. And what it will do, it will go away and it will bring you back a whole lot of keywords. And it will also, so they'll all be here, although they're filtered at the moment. But it will also show you the top 10 for that keyword that you put here. So things to do in Phuket with kids. It'll bring that up there. It'll give you a ranking and it'll sort of give you like an easy to moderate. It tells me 32. Now, generally, I think you're going to be looking for keywords that have a score that's less than 40. And although many people just tell you to look at that score and then run with it for a keyword, just make sure it's under a certain value, I think it's really important to always look at that top 10 in Google. So what I love about this tool is if we just scroll down here, we can see that top 10 and it's like color-coded things beautifully. So you can sort of look at it and get a good idea. But what that score is good for is it can help you sort of remove keywords that are just too hard to start with. Like if this already come up with 60 or something, then I would just go, no, I won't look at it at all. I won't waste my time. But 32, that's fine. I kind of think less than 40 for a blog, you've got some hope. I would go look at that top 10. But obviously the lower that is, the more you might like start cheering. But it's just not the only thing to think about. So we go down and I would look at the top 10 for this, just to give you an idea of what I look for. So the main things I look at is this domain authority. I look at the URL, and I look at this authority and this title. Now, what are these telling us? Well, the URL is obviously exactly what page is ranking on the internet. And the main thing I kind of look at there is the domain name. So see how these say Phuket.com, this first one, Phuket.com, Phuket 101. Now, Google's going to give a weighting if the keyword is in the site name, so in this URL, and especially in the domain name. Well, you can see here, it's not that the whole keyword is there for Phuket.com, but it's got Phuket. So the site, you would assume, is all about Phuket. So that's always going to be given a bit of a weighting in the search results, and it's going to be tough for me to beat a site like that, especially with a domain authority of 58. So I would look at that and go, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to get top spot. But really, mostly I look overall. Now, what I want to see is I want to see 3 sites to the domain authority that is less than my site. So my site is 41, and this color coding, comes in super handy because all these green ones, straight away I beat all of them. So that's 4, and then I beat this one 5, and this one, it's around about the same. So there's definitely at least 3 that I beat. But I would look closer and see, even though this is 31, it's got that Phuket 101, that makes me uneasy. I wouldn't say that was like an easy win for me. But if I look down here, there is some Phuket ones in there, but they are lower, so that makes me happy. There's this family travel scoop, that's lower. This wacky duo, I would feel quite good about those. And there's also this Blogspot. Now, Blogspot, that one, you can see it's 90, but that's because that's actually the domain authority of Blogspot, not that individual blog. So if it's one like that, where you can see it's sort of a subdomain, you can tell it's a subdomain because you've got that Jamie Monk and then .blogspot.com. So sort of like there's two names there, so you can see it's a subdomain. Look at the page authority for that instead of the domain authority. So 38, it's less than me, so that's 1, 2. Plus, in my experience, blogspot.com, people who don't even have a proper URL, it's usually not difficult to beat them. So I would count that as a win as well. But what you also want to look at is this authority. Okay, that gives you an idea of how many websites link to that post. So if that's high, like a 70, yep, that makes me more uneasy about that one. I wouldn't be so happy. But if we go down these other ones, you know, it's just got 1. And this family travel scoop, it's got none at the moment, the NA. So that seems okay. So there's a few in there I feel confident about. I also know that writing about this, where I have a bit of an advantage, because I track all my current rankings in my website, I know that I rank really well for posts on Thailand. So I also feel like that gives me a bit of an advantage for this keyword. So I'm more likely to sort of look at these top 10s and think, yeah, you know, I could make it work. But when you don't know that, you really just want to look at this domain authority. You want to look at these URLs to see if they include things like the Phuket.com. You want to look at this authority. Okay, the lower the better. And you want to look at if the title is in the title of the article has the keywords, because if there's an exact match on that, it's going to be harder to beat them. So this is telling me whether or not it says things to do in Phuket with kids in the title. So if it doesn't say it, that's great. You know, if all of these said yes, I'd think, oh crap, you know, that's quite hard. But you can see most of them are no, so that's a really good sign too. Now, I also do like looking at one other thing, and that's sort of how relevant the articles are. Now, my one down point about Keysearch is it unfortunately doesn't put the title name here, but you can get a really good idea from the URL whether or not the title looks super relevant or not. This looks like, you know, it's about activities by age group. You know, it doesn't look super relevant. You can, of course, click on these URLs and you can see the page and check. But I think that generally just quickly going down like this and looking at them is enough to work it out. So this is about 20 kids activities, not exactly the same as me. You know, what to do in Phuket with kids. Okay, that's quite relevant. But what I'll often find with these sort of topics is you go further down and some of them might not be about Phuket with kids. They might just be about Phuket like this, just things to do in Phuket. So it's not exactly relevant. So I would feel like I could beat that. And here what we actually have is a discussion post in TripAdvisor. Now, even though that's got a domain authority of 95, forum posts like that are generally quite easy to beat. So what you want to look at the end, after sort of analysing all that, is how many in here do you think you can beat? And I like to think I can beat at least 3. But that's sort of just to make sure I use that keyword. Then I would look at other keywords as well and just see if there's something that's better. So in here I would go, yep, forum post, that looks good. You know, this one, it's just got that low domain authority, doesn't have links to it. You know, that's good. I could beat that. Phuket for kids makes me a bit hesitant because it's very much on topic. Because it's the homepage of the site, you know, it has some more links to it with 9. But the domain authority is quite low. So at the moment, I feel like I could beat that, but it does make me a bit uneasy. So that's 3, you know, I've already got my 3. And if we keep looking up, this one, yes, even though it's about Phuket, it doesn't seem to be about with kids. So, and the domain authority is low, so I'd feel pretty confident about that. This one, it's not quite on topic. It's got a low domain authority. It's only got 1 for authority. Yep, I'd feel good about that. So you just keep going up. So I'm already at 5, and there might be some more in there too. So I actually feel like quite confident about those keywords that they would be good for me. But what I'd also do is I'd filter out, which I've already done here. So reset this. Sorry, this just takes a minute. Okay, so this is what it brought back for me initially. It was 685 different keywords about things to do in Phuket. So you can see it has these ones that aren't kids as well, and a whole lot of others. Now, I already discovered the things to do in Phuket with kids looks like a pretty good keyword, but I would look to see if there was a better one. Because ideally, I'd love one that was just as easy as things to do in Phuket with kids to rank, but this volume would be a lot higher. Okay, like, you know, if they had things to do in Phuket for kids, and that was 1,000 for the volume, then, I would definitely pick that keyword. Because for your main keyword, obviously the more people that are searching for it, the better. But it's always more important to rank really highly. So there is no point picking a keyword like things to do in Phuket. It's just that bit more difficult to rank. I don't think I could get to the top page. So even though 22,000 people are looking for that a month, if I can't get to the top page, no one's looking at my website anyway, it doesn't matter. I would definitely pick this one with 140. But I would only pick one even that was that low, like the 140, because I know that I will put a ton more keywords in that article. So what I've found sort of through experience is if a keyword has got at least 100, as long as there's many, many related keywords and I put them in my articles, then I tend to get a couple of thousand page views a month from Google. Okay, so don't rule it out just because it's 140. Because I can understand why you would. I would not write an article for just the chance of 140 page views a month. But it often can equal a lot more. And how I know that this is the case is what I would do next is I'd go use this filter. I'd put kid in there so that it brings back all the keywords that are in this list down here that it found that include the word kid. So this will help them be a bit more relevant for me. And you can see that there's a lot more, right? So there's 56 keywords. So I scroll down, there's a whole lot. I mean, a lot only have small small volume numbers, but it does all add up. Okay. And the other thing I found over time too is that these volumes, like these are coming from Keyword Planner, but they're still like really conservative. This says 140 now, but so would some of the other posts I've written. And when I look in Webmaster Tools later about how many hits a month I get from Google from those keywords, they're always a lot higher. So I feel like you should look at volume mostly as a relative thing. So if it's higher, then that keyword's more important than another, but not that it's strictly correct. So anyway, what I would do next is I'd look at these kid ones and see if there's a better keyword than things to do in Phuket with kids. So I looked at that. I have like 5 easy wins, possibly some more. So I'd go to look to see if anything beats it. Now, since I would sort by volume, because that's already pretty good, here it is here. The only way I'd pick another keyword over it is if it has a higher volume and it looks as easy to rank. Now, Thailand with kids, that's not a keyword I would use. It's not specific enough. It needs to be about Phuket. So I would start with this one, Phuket for kids. And if I click on it, it'll bring me up this nice screen to see the top 10. And I'd take a look at that. And again, it's quite similar, but there is some differences. And see what wins I have. So I'm looking at this authority column, the domain authority, and the URL, and sort of seeing how specific it is to the topic and whether there's an exact match on the title. Now this first one, it's domain authority 58, it's about Phuket, I would totally forget it. This next one, 17, so we looked at this before. I thought it was a win, but I'm a little bit hesitant, but we'll count it as a win. So this one again, like I said, because it's Blogspot, we don't count the domain authority, we'd count that. But it does have a lot of links, it's 70, so I wouldn't count that. We've got this one. This one, it's a bit trickier because it does have that Phuket in the title. It's about things to do in Phuket with kids. So it's on the topic. Its domain authority is lower, but it has that Phuket. So even though I have a higher domain authority, it's over 30, that one. It's not that far off me. And since it's about Phuket, I wouldn't count it as a win. But this one we looked at before, we'd count that as a win. We've got this one. It's got a similar domain authority. So because it's slightly higher, I wouldn't count it as a win. But it's close to being that if the domain authority was a bit lower. Here's another one. So it's domain authority 26. It's less than me. It doesn't look like it's about with kids. So I would count that as a win. Forum posts I count as a win. That doesn't look like it's about with kids. And that one's about hotels and not things to do. So that's 5 wins there. So Phuket for kids looks pretty good. So I would actually count that as a better keyword than things to do in Phuket with kids. They both had about 5 wins. But this one has the higher volume. Okay, so 5 wins is great for my travel blog. I would go for the one with higher volume, so Phuket for kids. And I could do the same thing with Phuket with kids. Okay, so that is how I would work out the main keyword. So I knew I wanted something about attractions, things to do in Phuket with kids. So what I would do is I went and looked for it. I got a whole heap of keywords, and I then worked out which was the most likely for me to rank, sort of balanced with what the search volume is, to work out my main keywords. So since they're both pretty easy, that Phuket for kids and things to do with Phukets, I would go with the one with the highest volume, so 320. Now, what you can also do in here is this deep analysis. So if you're not quite sure which one's better, or you just want to analyze it a bit further, it's a good thing to click on. You can just click on that and you just get a whole heap of more information. So I think there's enough in that first page to sort of analyze it. You don't necessarily need this. But if you're a little bit unsure, there's two that seem really close. It's a good way to just see a bit more information. Now this is Google Trends, and you can see that on this main page as well if you scroll down. So that can be useful. It's sort of like what time of year people search for your keywords. You can see the top 10 again, and it has some of the same information, but then it has a whole lot of others like Alexa, like the trust and citation flow, shares on Facebook. Like if you saw a whole ton of shares, you might just think you don't want to compete with that. And it's a little bit easy to see the URL, so you can see that. What else it shows you here is other keywords that the pages use a lot of. So it might just give you some different ideas of what you might be able to rank for as well. And that's the deep analysis. But that's basically it to find the main keywords. So I just sort of click around and compare and see where I look most likely to rank. Now, I also want to show you some in some other ones. So this tab, difficulty, it does a lot of what the research tab does, but it doesn't bring back all those related keywords. It just brings back sort of that top 10 in Google and that difficulty rating for the keyword. So it's a bit faster. It guesses this volume number, so I wouldn't count that as gospel. I would go get the volume from the research tab. But it's a good way if you just want to look at lots of different things. So I just put in a whole heap. I was just sort of experimenting, see how good a keyword was, whether it's something I would want to go after. So there's a few in here I just wanted to show you to sort of illustrate further what makes a good keyword and what doesn't. So this Cairns one is one. I'm going to Cairns soon. So I was looking at things to do in Cairns with kids. Now, if you just looked at this, you see this bright green, that's a great colour to see on there. It's 27. That's a great number to see for the competition. But I want to illustrate why you want to look at that top 10. Because even though this is lower than those Phuket with kids ones, it alarms me. I feel like I've got much more chance to rank for those Phuket than this Cairns one. Now, if you look at that top 10, what do you think my issue might be? Well, my main issue is just that we have this Cairns. It's in like just about all of this top 10. It's like totally dominated by sites specifically about Cairns. So even though this domain authority is quite low, I feel like Google really prioritizes websites about Cairns for this keyword. So although I might still go for it, and there's certainly a few here I feel I could beat, even if I ignored all the Cairns ones, these bottom ones look quite easy to beat. Even this one up here in number 2 could be easy to beat. But it does make me a bit hesitant because of all those ones that are about Cairns. So it's just something to consider. Now for another one, I actually just went to Muscat last week. It was awesome. And this is one where I'm thinking about not doing the with kids because for one, the with kids gets 10 searches a month. So it's just not worth it. It's too low. But also I actually only went with my baby. So I did do more adult activities. It's easier for me to write about it from that perspective. So I had a look down. And if you saw this straight away, you see all that red in domain authority, they're quite high. You might think, yuck, I don't want to do that. But I actually think this isn't a bad keyword. So I thought it was a good one to illustrate why you really want to analyze that top 10. Now, that's because if we look at the bottom here, right, we've got these two, they're quite easy, 25, 27, they don't have links to them. I should be able to beat that super easy. But then you go up, and if you analyze it further, say this British Airways one, if we click on that link, it might be called Things to Do in Muscat. But when you look at that article, you know, it never mentions those keywords again. The only place it is on the page is there. I did a search before. It's not like a very good article compared to what I would write. You know, mine would be thousands of words long. It'd be quite in depth. So I look at all that and just think, you know, that's easy to beat because it's just not quality. It's not about the keywords really. So that should be fine. So I would actually count that as a win, even though that's 91. We've got other ones up here too. This magazine one, I think wasn't that great either. You know, so you can click on all these and have a closer look. You know, it can be really worthwhile. Generally, if I can find one pretty easily, I just, like with Phuket, I don't go to this sort of level. But when you're having a bit more of a difficult time, it's definitely worth just looking in closer because sometimes it's just not as competitive as what you think it is. So this Expedia one, you know, it's ranking really highly and it does say things to do in Muscat there. But if you look at it, there's barely any text on the page. It's really just like a big ad. And that type of article, you know, I feel like I should be able to beat. Here's another one. It's from a local magazine. And although that is on topic or whatever, I've just sort of found that these sort of magazine sites are quite easy to beat. So I'm not too worried about that. And basically I go through it and there is more that I reckon I could beat than what it looks like at first glance. So I guess in summary there, it's really important to look at that top 10 to analyze and really think about if you can beat it. So again, to go over it again, you're looking at that domain authority, making sure you can beat some of them, you know, that yours is higher. You're looking about whether the topics, whether the web pages ranking are on that topic. You're looking at this authority, like how many links are there to that page. And you're looking at that domain name just to see if it includes what you're going to talk about. So they're the main ones. And basically you just want to find the one that looks the easiest to rank for, preferably with a higher search volume.